Fun.
Yeah.
Delightful.
I guess whenever we're ready, we can call to order.
Okay, and I don't know why not showing up.
You get sucked in.
Technical difficulties.
Oh.
Put that on mine.
Okay, 2 thumbs up. Roll call. Marcia Carrington.
Here.
Sean Daly.
Here.
Robin Lloyd.
Here.
Chris Barthamore.
Here.
Adam Ramsdale.
Here.
Brian Stanley.
Here.
Cable Steineman. Jordan Sternberg.
Here.
Martha Weichel.
Here.
Blake Harris. Michelle Newell.
Here.
Aaron Blair.
Here.
Great, everyone should have received a copy of the minutes from the January meeting. Anything to correct or any motions to be made?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion.
Second.
And a second, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We move to old business. Aaron would like to give us an update on the vinyl murals.
Yes. 2 more of the mural project murals have been installed. Shrooms by Jen Robinson at 301 East Market Street, and Blue Streak by Melissa Conquest at 246 East Market Street. This is a photo of the artist. She was very excited, so I let both the artists know and the building owners know. Mr. Dorsey of Tim Dorsey Fitness said he posted about it on Facebook, and a bunch of customers were already saying that they loved it and were excited about it. So already hearing some good buzz, so please go check those out and share those with your community to elevate the art. And then we have 2 remaining projects to be installed. So one is Sunny Selfie by Annie Sarika at 231 West Water. And then we have the chosen piece, Unlikely Friends by Gracie Keener, is still looking for a home. We were not able to install it at the Fabulous Female Building. I'm not recalling that address right now because we can see, when I went out there with the team from Laura's Printing who's doing the installations, we could see a little bit of maybe water, or like it looked a little bit green on the building, so there might be some water intrusion, and then it looked like the paint might be peeling a little bit. So Craig was really worried that that mural could peel back whatever coating or paint is on the building right now, so he wasn't really feeling secure about putting it up there. So we went to the alternate, which the commission had approved, which was 401 West Shoreline Drive at the Chesapeake, and I sent them the art, and the new board president circulated it with the board members, and they did not approve the art for that location. Trying to get us to a solution before this meeting, went ahead and sent him a couple other pieces of art because he said that they were interested more in something that depicted Sandusky Bay or more particularly to the city. So I went ahead and just looked at our other pieces and said, could you approve one of these? And I was going to bring that to you, but they also declined to approve either of those options. So I happened to be walking by one of our other locations, which is on the bottom left here at the corner of Decatur and Jackson Street, and there was a gentleman, it was a Saturday morning, and there was a gentleman coming out of the building. I was walking my dog, and I was like, do you happen to be the owner? And he said yes. And I was like, I'm looking for a home for this mural for the Arts Commission, and you were one of the locations that we looked at. And he was like, oh, I was just talking about a mural over here would be cool with my daughter the other day, and da-da-da. So he said he was totally interested in putting it at this location, and I sent them the permission just to get that permission in writing, which I'm still waiting on. So I was just going to give you that approval, and if you have any concerns about that location, hopefully we can get that. And if not, I'll continue to explore options to use that budget with this piece at another location that we had identified, or even with one of our alternate pieces. If you have any specific direction, feel free to give me direction. If not, I'll keep navigating that process and updating you.
Any concerns?
No.
Sounds like that's an approval.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. When are we going to be looking at new murals for, can people still apply for a mural?
So we intended to do the program for 2 to 5 years. That's how it's written right now. Hopefully they'll last 5 years, because then, if they don't peel and they're all in good quality, I think that's going to be our deciding factor, is when when we want to see that rotate, if we have staff capacity to do that, if they start to not look nice. I mean, these kind of murals can last 10 years if they're, not picked at. So I think some rotation before that timeline certainly would be best, but the way we drafted the program was 2 to 5 years.
Okay, so we're not going to be adding any additional ones? Okay.
That's not how we had conceived of it. I mean, we can discuss that during our brainstorming for next year if we want to do something more with it, but the way we wrote it, it was 6 murals, 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
I look forward to maybe bringing that to the brainstorming too. I mean, they're well received, they make a big impact. I'd love to see those.
I've just recently seen some amazing art from a student who, it would just look so amazing on a building. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, more to come, I think.
If everyone could talk in the microphones, we've had people call in and say they can't hear what the people in the commissions are saying. We need to use our microphones.
Anything else on this?
Doesn't look that way. Old business, guitar sculpture placement.
Oh, I've received an updated request from George Gast. He's actually asked several times about potential guitar sculptures that might be received well from the committee. My understanding of the original request is he asked the Arts Commission if he could purchase a guitar sculpture for placement in Washington Park. This was maybe 2.5 years ago before I got here, that the direction he got was that Washington Park is a very formal park and perhaps not the best location. He was then interested in Jackson Street Pier, which didn't really get support internally. That's a premier public park that really a lot of eyes are on. And so I said, and he continues to ask about, and I said, well, George, why don't you see if you can find another sculpture style that maybe might be better received. And this was one he brought to me recently, and so I told him I would bring it to the Arts Commission for discussion again. So I think I had looked around the building, so this is the owner of Musicians Alley, and we looked around in Peddler's Alley to see if maybe there's a location right by the building that would be appropriate. I went out with Public Works and looked in Peddler's Alley. There's not really a great spot in Peddler's Alley because there's already an art wall at the end of Peddler's Alley, which you don't want to put someone's sculpture as a foreground of someone else's sculpture. And so this was just brought back to me that I wanted to bring to you to discussion to know that there's continued interest in the purchase and installation of a piece of public art by, one of our community members, and see what your thoughts were about that.
Any questions or comments on this updated request?
I like the style.
I like the style too,
Yeah,
but
it's tasteful.
is it going to have a plaque and words and all of that with it, or is it just the sculpture?
That's a good question. He didn't give me any more detail. I would assume that he would prefer to have a plaque or something there. If that's not the direction the Arts Commission would like to go, there is already some text about George's son Scott at Shade Mylander Plaza, so he might be open to not, reiterating that. I don't know. That's a good question.
I might be wrong, and I think we'd have to look back in the minutes, but I think a couple years ago, the question was exactly that, and I think there was something in city code that somebody has to be deceased for X number of years to
Yeah, I
have a
believe it's
memorial.
25 years for memorialization on public.
Yeah, so I think
And
that was
kind
the
of holding
issue at the
everything
time.
back.
Okay,
So if it's just a sculpture, it probably gets around that, but if there's a plaque,
okay.
Is that just for like a sculpture or because my brother has a tree that they put pretty quickly up. It's right out here.
yeah, you could do a tree
it's-
and like the
okay.
benches
Bench.
and some of that
But
kind of
not like
stuff.
a piece
but-
of artwork.
Yeah,
Okay.
there
Yeah,
is
there's
a
something in the
plaque
code
on
about it.
Shade Mylander for
Yep.
Scott, with Scott's face on it.
Right.
That is on Shade Mylander
And
Plaza.
that got put on like 2 or 3 years after he passed. I mean,
Yeah,
it was pretty quick.
quick.
It was real quick,
I think we would need to check the city code on
Okay.
that.
100%.
We not only check the code, but check our guidelines as well. When the commission was first formed, there was a lot of documentation talked about receiving and placing sculptures for both memorialization and just from anybody wanting to donate. a sculpture for us to accept it. There were certain criteria. I think that was part of the last conversation as well. I don't know if that rings a bell to anybody else.
Yeah. It's a cool looking sculpture.
Yeah,
I do love this
This is the
sculpture.
exact design sculpture that was picked, or? Is this the exact sample that he selected for use, or is it like just an example that's pictured?
This was the proposed sculpture.
Proposed. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we assume there's not a plaque, it's not a memorial, it's a piece of public art that has a title and it just says donated by George Gast, let's say, that scenario, are there thoughts about this piece? I think that what I'd love to know is if the committee would support something like this. And I think if that's true, you could direct me to see if Public Works and Parks staff would support it. I have not talked internally about this at all. I just brought it to you because I know it had been in discussion with the Arts Commission previously.
I think clarification on the purpose of it with the plaque and whatnot and our rules and stuff, once that happens, I think it's a matter of, I mean, everyone here, I don't hear anybody saying they don't like it. So, kind of, hey, find a place that we can maybe do this if we're allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, if we can do it and it adheres to all the guidelines, I'm 100% for it because the
Same.
sculpture's nice.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I like it.
And that's
too.
what we're about, right? I mean, if we can find sculptures without dipping into the bank and he's willing to do that and, I mean, fits who he is in the community, I'm all for it.
Right.
I love the look. I would just want to know more about what the material is, what it's going to look like over time.
Right.
Right.
Longevity,
And what-
sustainability.
Yeah, what's the maintenance and upkeep on something like this?
It'd be really cool if it was copper because it would patina really nicely, I think. That's just me, at least the wood part.
Okay.
'Cause the rain would be-
So I'm hearing just a general request for more information
Shifted
and come
green.
back for discussion.
Yeah, for a more formal discussion and a
Okay.
vote, I would think. Anybody else have anything to say? Pro or con against this guitar sculpture?
Would it be prudent to ask Mr. Gass to come
I-
attend the meeting? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, would it be prudent to ask him to maybe come here and give more detail on his intent? And
I think especially if he has more detail about the art itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we go,
That'd be a pretty good next step.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
What is the reasoning behind not wanting something in memory of somebody? Is it just because you have to wait a certain amount of years to do something? Because there's plenty of things around town that are in memory of so-and-so.
So I'm saying, I think, even if we went down this route with George and this sculpture, if he's wanting a plaque to go with this guitar, I'm thinking, it wouldn't be so bad if we did it like, if it was super small, like you would put on like one of the trees,
Yeah.
in one of the parks, or even like the size that you would put on a memorial bench.
Just like in memory of. or
Yes,
Whatever.
Yeah.
yes, just the name of the sculpture, and it could say in memory of. But-
Just speculation, but I assume that it's part of city code and we'd have to see exactly what it says, but I would assume that legislation was there so that people just don't make a emotional reaction to something and it has to.
Right.
stand the test
why
of
him and
time.
not my kid type thing, or why him and not my friend? And yeah, you put guidelines in place and the rules to follow that we have to do.
And I do remember the code, like it was 25 years.
5 years.
Yeah, it was a
right?
25-year window
Yeah.
it was very specific though.
Mhm.
So,
I'd assume that preserves the ability to honor historical figures without having to field like endless or perceived endless requests from community members that there's a place, cemeteries where you memorialize folks, would be
Right.
my assumption. That it's hard, anytime you put something like that in place that has that deep emotional connection, then if you ever have to move it for a project, it can become really legally difficult. If the tree ever dies, if there, those sort of things can be, hinder public process for the general welfare.
Well said. So I guess we can move forward with that, move the ball forward and see where that one takes us. So as far as new business goes, Artist-led grant proposal.
Thank you. So I've received a grant proposal from the Sandusky Farmers Market. They are seeking to conduct an event series called Second Saturdays. This is a placemaking project to add vibrancy and activate the Sandusky Farmers Market every second Saturday of the month. They had approached me about this, just kind of feeling out whether the Arts Commission may or may not support it. And I was remembering during our brainstorming session a couple years ago of the value of adding some of those cultural experiences. So we've been focusing a lot on permanent public art, but we had discussions about bringing more live music to the city and doing, performances and things like that. And how can we find entities that want to bring those sort of activities? So that's why I directed them to bring this proposal to you, because I thought that it was a good ask. And plus, we've never received an artist-led grant, at least my time with the city. So they are seeking to do every second Saturday of the 2023 Farmers Market. So those dates would be June 10th, July 9th, August 12th, September 9th, and October 14th. And the variety that they're looking at is some kind of stilt walking, circus performance, live music, and chalk art for the different, those 5 events. They're not completely firm on which one would take place on which day, but they do have some quotes to support the ask.
Separate.
The budget that they sent, they have received quotes and are talking with Acoustic X, Stiltina, Chalk Art, Sean Benjamin, Bug Life Entertainment, and then also want to support this with some marketing and promotion to make a special Second Saturdays poster and other things. And we do have a representative here from the farmers market, I think. Yes, Miss Mackenzie Spriggs can elaborate and answer any questions you have as well. And so the total request for this grant is $2,500. We have a $10,000 budget in our artist-led grant budget, so that would leave us with $7,500 to still be available to other projects in 2023.
You said this is the first grant request we've had.
This
For
is the
that line
first grant request we've had.
Is that good through, is that fiscal year October or January are we talking here when we redo the budget for that?
Generally, we adopt our budget in January, February, and it's for the calendar year. That's how
Okay.
our
Just-
Arts Commission budget
just refreshing
typically
myself on that, 'cause I
functions. I do expect that when we get grant proposals, they will often come in the spring. And, just being a tourist-driven city, a lot of our requests are going to come in before summer. And people get really busy and they go on vacation in the summertime. So I don't know if we may get more requests this year, we may not. I have been talking to somebody else about a mural. I don't know if they'll bring that forward this year, but if we grant this $2,500, that would leave budget sufficient to the other potential applicant I've been talking to. And last year, I talked to a couple folks and neither of those came to fruition. So there's no one else on the radar as far as I'm understanding.
Any discussion regarding the proposal?
Can you remind me how much we set aside for the artist-led grant?
It's $10,000.
It's 10,000. So they're asking literally for us to pay for their entertainment.
Yes, they're asking for support to bring the arts to the farmers market. And I would say just a little bit more background on the Sandusky Farmers Market. It is a nonprofit 501c3. It has incredibly low rates, much lower for vendors than other places in the city. It's changed hands in management several times, and it's now being produced in partnership with Destination Sandusky, which is a new organization that's specifically setting out to unapologetically promote the city of Sandusky. And also there's a new manager, Rachel Summerfield, who's coming on board this year and bringing in a lot of new life to the farmers market. So this is one of their ideas to increase the vendors, thriving at the market, to bring more people to these events and create something kind of special once a month in downtown. And those are 8 a.m. to noon, if I recall. Oops, sorry.
So even the second Saturdays, this is still only until noon with the
That's my understanding. And
Entertainment?
we've gotten that question more than once in conversations, so I've been in I think you asked that question in the downtown merchants meeting, so I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, but even like, my thing is like, if you're gonna pay for all this entertainment and so on and so forth, and then just have it end like right at noon, or are they like going to extend that further for the second Saturday?
I don't know, you can ask the representative from the farmer's market if you want to have her come to the podium.
Yeah.
I know that a number,
Come on
like the fruits and vegetables vendors often sell out, and a lot of the small bakeries sell out. So we did warn them, because I participated in a farmer's market meeting with Mackenzie and Rachel, and we said, we want to help do this second Saturdays thing, and you should bring more product with you to sell, because we're hopefully going to bring more people to the market once a month.
Guys, this is so fun to be up here in this.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
Sure. I'm Mackenzie Spriggs of 616 Superior Street in Sandusky. Rachel wanted to be here today, but we had a little snafu with the scheduling. It says that it's actually next week online, so I am here. But she would have a lot more excitement to give. The basis of this is, as you guys know, this hasn't been used. We've talked about how often, especially with the market, we have two types of markets that emerge, and one tends to be like an artisan cultural market. Rachel has led some of those with the Moonlight Market down at the Pavilion this past year. So we brought her on to do the Sandusky Farmers Market, and we have a real emphasis on bringing artists to the markets, especially on these second Saturdays. So you'll see that Washington Park is full in the grassy area. Also in May and June, the produce tends to be lacking because it's not here yet. And so we want to bring more artists so that like those feel full and provide something for people to do. But along with this, so art, has many forms, and the reason that it is kind of loose, as Erin said, is we were really hoping to get some feedback. We know we have great local talent here. This is a reimbursable grant, so if you guys allocate $2,500, but we spend $1,800, that's all you're, paying for. And then, so this was to be able to do it really well. We hope that if this is successful next year, we can get a sponsor, and that having a cultural elevated Saturday will just happen naturally. But that's why we approached you guys for year one. And it is really hard to hear your echo with these microphones, so.
I got two things with this. I know artists that would probably come down there and perform absolutely free in return for a spot to sell stuff, goods there. I also know that if you're doing this like a second Saturdays thing, that we could team up with local businesses, almost like Vermilion does on their third Thursdays, where artists can go play in front, not just at Washington Park, but why can't we just explode the entire downtown with music and art, and use the farmers market as a good centerpiece, and then have people busking in front of businesses if the business allows it.
There's not a lot of businesses open before noon.
True. If they can get the spot in front of the business, at least. I mean, not necessarily to drive people in, but valid point. Maybe an opportunity for them to open before noon.
I'll say this with the caveat that I will have to abstain from this vote because the theater is still a fiduciary agent for the farmers market. But just having been involved with it the last few years, I definitely think there's room to scale up. And I think it's really meeting a critical need for low-cost produce for people in the area, and starting to have it be event-based and putting some of its cultural aspects to it when you go to other farmers markets. And like, I always check out the farmers market when I'm traveling, and this is a really good model that does work. And I think just, they're saying we want to try this out, do 1 year, maybe if it's successful, we'll be able to get a sponsor next year. I think the farmers market is a very good place to give them the ability to scale up a little bit and see how that works.
And to your point, I think we could get artists for free, but knowing that artists already don't make a lot of money for what they do. I'd love to be able to pay them and put them on a pedestal and help market to get.
Absolutely not endorsing asking artists for exposure for that. My point is that a lot of the guys I work with and bands I work with have at least 1 or 2 members that sell things that would be appropriate for that, and they just don't know that that exists.
Yeah.
And they would be down there because it would help drive traffic to their booth. You know, they could talk about it, and I've done this at my own shows where bands come in, they set up their own merch, and it's not just T-shirts and bumper stickers. It's like handcrafted jewelry at shows.
Vendor spots are available, and
Right.
you can find those on the farmers market page of Facebook. So anybody, and they're like $10, $15 if you wanted.
$15.
You have to let the manager know by Wednesday, and you can set up a booth for $15 on whatever Saturday you want to be there. And then you can sign up for the whole season, and it's like $10. So definitely they're open and hoping to increase the number of vendors this year.
I guess it would be a matter of coordinating of who's playing when, because you don't want somebody showing up with that while Acoustic X is playing and they just
Oh, I
decide to
just
step up
meant
to
if
play.
they want to come set up a booth and sell stuff, and then that,
Right. Oh, yeah.
if they have handmade, what's the motto, handmade?
Slow made.
Handmade, well-made, slow-made, and homegrown.
Mackenzie, I would guess that you've already approached these artists and sort of gotten the quote from them, right?
And I think so. For some of these more peculiar ones, like the stilt walking, and we looked up like a mime, for example, and like what that would be. And so these were numbers that we got from, what was it, Gig Salad or whatever, that tool is. But really, apart from knowing that we want to start with a local musician in June, and that she has talked to Donna Bretz, who's doing Chalk It Up Sandusky, that those two are a little bit set in stone. There was a lot of room for discussion about what we would like to see and what our community is missing. That this would be a good opportunity to introduce some type of art that we don't currently have, or to scale up.
She talked to Donna because it's actually me and Donna's not so sure about what direction we would like to take it. So,
I will say, I think it's a great cause, and if we can get behind you, at least for this first year, see where things go from there. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to use the artist-led grant to use for this type of funding, but I'm definitely on board for year one to try to help this initiative take off.
I do like that, to your point, I really do like that this money's going to flow through into artists' hands.
Yeah, starting economy of that is very important. Yeah, definitely don't ever ask an artist to do it for exposure. Give them something tangible, and money is the best thing you can do, yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Mackenzie or about the artist-led grant proposal?
are they going to bring more art to the farmer's market? Because it's like, I do see a lot of crafts, because I go there almost every Saturday that I can
Yeah.
look up.
Yeah.
So I would like to personally see more actual artwork
Us too, yeah.
and things like that.
There are some people that are being grandfathered in, but we are really being selective about new people, and that it is truly artisan work. And I think we will tend to be a little bit more flexible on Saturdays with, the emphasis on it, but we also want it to be a curated and well-produced market, and that is our North Star. In addition, I would just say this is different than the artists, but we're also looking for pickles, sauces, to really expand in the food market, us being in a food desert. So Rachel's trying really hard in both of those aspects.
Is it still going to stay the one section of Washington Row? Is there any thoughts on maybe an expansion with doing something like this, maybe into the second section of Washington Row?
I think that would be awesome. We have 50 or more, 50 to 60 vendors currently signed up. So already that's a huge scale from last year. So I can't wait to see where it goes. I would love to blow out the farmers market and Athens. There's a lot of great markets that I also go to and that we've talked about modeling ourselves after.
Is there an age on who can participate in the Farmers markets?
So no, there is not. We have many young entrepreneurs, like a handful that create dog treats that are in middle school, and their mother helps them. So
As long
no,
as a
there is no
parent is
age.
with them,
Yep.
you know.
I had a really cute 9-year-old empty my wallet over dog bandanas. So, yeah.
So is there any thought of like in the future of having this so it's year round and not just in the summertime and outside? Do we have a possible location in town that could possibly even satisfy that need to maybe make this something a little bit more perpetual than just the summertime?
I feel like I'm sharing all of our secrets. But we do have the intention of trying a handful of evening markets throughout the summer and doing them down at the Jackson Street Pier to see if ferry goers, if that is, a secondary audience and if there's room for that. And if I could just give a quick shout out because Firelands Health is a sponsor, so I just want to make sure that they, get some love too.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anything
thank
else from Mackenzie?
So the $2,500 would literally be paying for all the entertainment, is that correct?
Yeah, so it would go directly to the artists, but for the 280 markets to help with marketing and promotion of the second Saturday so that it gets the buzz and the attendance that they're looking for.
And that's going to a local marketing company, right? I would imagine. Somebody in town, newspaper, radio. Yeah.
Radio.
Local radio,
register.
local newspaper,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's definitely all that's staying local.
Local.
Okay,
So-
Materials to businesses.
awesome.
Okay, so with that being said, if the Arts Commission decided to move forward with this, because the Arts Commission needs the public to know that we're here. So would there be anything like, this is presented by the City Arts Commission?
I think that would be a great condition to the granting that they include, that the second Saturdays is sponsored by the Public Arts and Commission of the City of Sandusky, or some whatever legally, however you legally could do that.
Yeah, we could entertain a
I'd like to
motion.
see that.
I think in addition to how other artists who are there could get involved with, our grant programs and all the other programs, so advertise ourselves within that, in the
Yes.
context of the market.
Attendance in official capacity at some point, just to.
How would this be marketed? Like, is it going to be just on Facebook? Is it going to be, I'm thinking the Sandusky Rec, the information they send out to the families of all the activities the kids are in or could do, could that be included? So a parent can look and go, oh, this is going on this Saturday.
I know that Rec is working on their all events guide for the year right now. The farmer's market is definitely on there. And is the second Saturday is going to be called out on there? Do you know?
I don't believe in that, the fun guide, the summer fun guide. I don't think it is called out, but it is going to be amplified in every other aspect. So we have funding set aside for the register. Again, in this management partnership that we have, it's the City of Sandusky, the State Theater, and Destination Sandusky, and everybody has agreed to use their social media power. So those are 3 voices, and then, through traditional means, the radio register. But it will be a big marketing push, and I like that condition.
I'll follow up on that, and I'll say the public relations promotion side of that is vastly more than the marketing. Like, it's a small price to pay for marketing that's going to stay local, and
Oh, I was actually.
we're all
Yes.
putting it out there heavy separately in unpaid media.
Oh, like a month's worth of radio advertisements, $200 by itself.
Yeah.
But, however, I think if you team up with WOKR, they would probably do this for you as part of, because they have to do a certain amount of pro bono stuff. I would definitely throw that on there and not, avoid paying any of it, except for like, newspaper and stuff where.
And it's nice too to have, Destination Sandusky coming in and working on this. We've been doing this with the State Theater for a couple of years, and obviously we're very busy.
Right.
And having it in Mackenzie's hands and Rachel's hands, they're able to put more into it than we've been able to. So it's good to see
More
this
bang for your buck,
scaling.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, hopefully this proposal makes it scale even higher. So any motions for the Artist Site Grant proposal?
Motion to accept the proposal.
Second.
Have a motion?
Would you add a condition onto that, that
Yes.
That,
supported by the
Yes.
City of Sandusky Public Arts and Culture Commission?
I have to include on it.
But you could just say with the
I
condition as
personally- no.
expressed by staff or something.
So we have a motion to approve with the caveat of mentioning that it is brought to you by the Public Arts and Culture Commission.
Correct.
Yes.
Any
Yes.
discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Marcia Carrington,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Robin Lloyd,
Yes.
Chris Parthamore,
Abstain.
Adam Ramsdale,
Yes.
Brian Stanley,
Yes.
Jordan Sternberg,
Yes.
Martha Weichel,
Yes.
Michelle Newell.
Yes.
That is approved, passes the Artist Site Grant proposal. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
New business, Asphalt Art Grant.
Okay,
So-
your fearless leader, Brian Stanley, has brought this to my attention at the Bloomberg Philanthropies Asphalt Art Grant. They grant 20 cities in the United States, so pretty steep stakes here, $25,000 each to increase public safety and activate public spaces through painting or art on asphalt. Their goal, like I think I just said that, increasing public safety through art and placemaking. And then if you win the award, you get the money and you also get some consulting from Bloomberg Associates and Streets Plan Collaborative. Brian and I met about this and brainstormed a bunch of different things. Basically, we're on a short timeline. We wanted to brief you, and what we'd like today is your approval to go after this. We're proposing that we apply for this grant for the Hayes Avenue underpass. One of the biggest reasons is because it's incredibly well documented in adopted city plans. So it's in the placemaking plan, it's in the neighborhood initiative, and it's in the recently adopted, was just adopted by City Commission 2 weeks ago, the Southside Plan. We had a youth workshop as part of the Southside Plan process, and we had a group of like middle school and high school age kids, and this is one of the first things they brought up, that it's creepy to walk under the Hayes Ave underpass, and it's in between school and a lot of our Sandusky kids' neighborhoods, so it's an underpass that's got a lot of traffic. It ended up in a recommendation as in the connectivity and infrastructure chapter and the branding and beautification chapter in the Southside Plan. So I think I've written a lot of grants, I've reviewed grants, and one of the things that grantors like to see is that there's broad public support, community support, stakeholder support. So I think that this is our strongest pitch, is to get some funding to paint on the not on the asphalt, but on the walls, and do a gateway mural project for Hayes Avenue underpass. I got permission from the city manager and from Public Works to go forward with this today. We would need to ask City Commission permission to go after the grant. They could do that on Monday. The grant proposal is due on June 12th, which Brian and I would take the lead on writing and submitting. And just for some examples, I think that this grant originally was something that they were looking at funding paint on asphalt. So they were funding street intersection pavement, which wears away over time. But they've definitely expanded, and these are in the packet for the proposal this year. There's a number of underpass type vertical infrastructure. I really like this idea because if you paint it and you're not going to drive on top of it, it's going to last a whole lot longer. And that Hayes Avenue intersection is a gateway to the city. It connects the south side to the hospital. It connects a lot of the central city neighborhoods to the school district, and it's a gateway experience for people coming into the city.
I agree. I feel it would be appropriate place. I mean, we threw out a couple of different ideas, but I think a big reason, one of the last, if you guys remember, we submitted this 2019.
That
think
Sounds
is
right.
when it was. Pre-COVID, we submitted, and we were not selected. And come to find out, the street, we did not have approval from the state to be able to do the work there. There was a miscommunication, and that would not be accepted. So we kind of pivoted from the previous location, and then we started talking about other ideas, and I agreed with Erin that this would be the perfect spot for all the reasons she said.
So today, we're just hoping for you all to support going after the grant, and if you have any other thoughts on
Is there any
the
downside?
approach. Not that I can see, I mean, it's just time, it doesn't have a matching requirement, but it would,
Do you need a motion?
yeah.
Motion to approve you to go try and get the grant.
Second, yeah.
Everyone's second.
Yeah.
In a second, roll call vote, please.
Marcia Carrington?
Yes.
Sean Daly?
Yes.
Robin Lloyd?
Yes.
Chris Parthamore?
Yes.
Adam Ramsdale?
Yes.
Brian Stanley?
Yes.
Jordan Sternberg?
Yes?
Martha Weichel?
Yes.
So I have a question real quick. So is there any possibility the city is going to be able to build in maybe something like this for the Columbus Avenue repairs?
It's a great question.
It'd be a great time to do that, wouldn't it?
That, we could pursue that as part of, a future project, if that's the will of the commission to use
Just-
our funding for. We could, if we don't get this grant, we could pursue the Hayes Ave one, if that's the will of the commission in the future, because we
Yeah.
do have an annual budget.
The Columbus Avenue situation is kind of nationally known now.
Create a
So-
series of underpass murals. that we- over the
Yeah,
next
we got a
3-4
whole
years.
bunch of them.
Have a few.
Yes, the South Side plan also mentions the Camp Street underpass, because that's another one that the kids mentioned that they use.
Every time I go underneath the Columbus Ave one, I think of, boy, this would be nice.
Should we check the railroads and see if they're willing to fund?
I would just put it in there. Better to beg for forgiveness and ask for permission.
Anyone have any other new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. We're adjourned.
Good job, well done.
All right, I'll be waiting to hear from you. Yes. And Sean, do I have your number? I'll call you about.
419?
Like right when the weather was done.
366?
Didn't know it?
9229.
They told us.
Maybe we could get together sometime and just talk about that. Yeah,
Next week. Especially. This week?
Yeah.
Let's do this week. Well, Friday I have.
I just thought about it.
This weekend I'm washing
I was
elephants.
looking for it because I.